We are very excited to have Michael Haynes join us today. I'm Sherry Dodgen with QuickFee and VP of Marketing here. So thank you for taking time to join us. I know we had a lot of people who registered who indicated they wouldn't able to be joining us live today. So we are recording this so that a lot of people I know these days are taking in kind of masterclass content or various content pieces, maybe in the evenings or on the weekends as kind of your, doing some of your lean back learning. And so we know a lot of people's days are kind of slam packed with meetings. So we will be recording this for folks. But I do want to introduce you to Michael. So Michael really has a focus and a passion for empowering CEOs and the teams of professional service firms to really be able to acquire B2B clients, so those business clients, and achieve that growth momentum that they're seeking using this proprietary buyer-driven approach that he's going to talk to us about today as we kind of take a look at how that ultimate go-to-market playbook will help drive your firm's growth. So Michael, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And Michael is based in Sydney, so it's like dark 0:30 morning where you are. So thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Sherry. Hello, everyone, live and those on recording. Great to be here. Yes, it's a very early but dark 6 a.m. here in Sydney, but I'm really excited and happy to be here to really share with the listeners regarding what we need to do to thrive and succeed in the world of B2B professional services, as there are a lot of opportunities that exist, but there are a lot of changes and some moving dynamics that are occurring. So really want to give folks some good strategies and approaches that they can really start to implement in their organization, literally right after watching this masterclass that they can put on their screen. We'll go to the next slide, if we could, please. So really, the world of professional services can really be summed up about the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good thing is that large organizations are very much open to working with us as smaller niche professional service providers. I remember when I started out in my career as an independent consultant way back in 2009, 2010. How time flies, but going to networking events and being interacting with members from larger organizations, and some of the senior execs would say, well, no one gets fired for hiring IBM. Well, those days are over now. And in fact, in larger organizations, they're very much quite keen to be working with us as smaller niche providers that have the expertise that can deliver the client experience and deliverables that they're looking for. My very first project as an independent consultant was with a large Asia-Pacific talent recruitment firm, and I was brought on for that very reason. So there's lots of opportunities for us, even as smaller providers, to get into larger organizations. And when you get in there and you deliver, you build that trust, that credibility with those decision makers, those key stakeholders, it will lead to larger revenue streams, ongoing, recurring contracts, all those great things that we strive to as professional service firm owners and leaders. And that momentum truly leads to more momentum. Even when these leaders, decision makers move companies, they will stay with you. So it is a really good scenario. Lots of opportunities if you've got offerings, service offerings, and can provide the advice, insights that your clients are looking for. Great opportunities. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and I think as she's switching slides, I think one of the things too is as we look at like accounting firms are one of the professional service type firms that we work with. And so a lot of times when they have a specialty niche area that they are really covering, there's that word of mouth referral too. Like, so if you specialize working with dentists, right? Like a lot of dentists, like they talk to each other at conferences and events, like who's your accounting firm? Who do you use? Right. And so I think that word of mouth travels well too.
Yes, so word of mouth really does travel well. There's lots of dynamics happening in professional services, which I'm going to unpack about. Accounting is one of the areas where there's a lot of moving and shaking. There is a lot of work to be done on their go-to-market strategies, their solutions, the service and the solution that they provide. That's a huge opportunity to niche down and to open up, and we'll talk a bit more on that. But you're absolutely, accounting is one of the areas that is being disrupted, and you need to be disrupted to be relevant moving forward. The bad and the ugly is that, across the board in B2B, full stop, but particularly in our world of professional services, more people are being involved in the buying decisions. It's not uncommon, even if you are a small, a micro or a small accounting firm, law firm, and you are selling into another SME, SMB, there will still be, don't be surprised to see 2 to 3 people involved in the decision making. When we're getting into our larger organizations now, our mediums, our mid-markets, 5 to 6 people. Large corporates, you can have as many, 6 to 8. In the technology world, that's where there tends to be even more, and 8 to 12 is not uncommon. So there are more people involved in the buying decisions. They're doing more self-education and research. And so before they want to come and talk to you or anyone that is a quasi-sales representative, the decision makers, those key stakeholders, are going to be doing a lot of their own research. They're going to be talking to colleagues. They're going to be doing their research online. They're going to be coming to master classes, listening to podcasts. They're members of online community groups. They're going through their industry associations. So they're doing a lot of that self-education and research. And folks, what I want to point out is that they are doing it through independent sources. Yes, we were often told, particularly during the times of the dreaded pandemic, got to have your content on your website and do SEO. Content on your website and SEO is important, but the thing that is happening now is that people are going to third parties. So it is not enough to just be having lots of content and just throwing it on your website, throwing it on your email newsletter. You need to be going to those trusted sources out in the market, out in the ecosystems of those industries and geographic markets that you serve, where your decision makers and buyers are going for information. It's longer and more complex sales. It can take longer depending on the complexity of your offering, depending on the cost of your offering as well. And buyers, in our world in professional services, they are becoming skeptical and more demanding than ever. And that's been from a number of sources. I know from my own experience and talking to some of my clients, some of the bigger end of town in the world of professional services and consulting have done us niche providers a bit of a disservice by their inability to deliver. There can be that skepticism. I can give my own examples of with some of my early consulting projects where my second project ever I inherited because one of the big global brand names did a massive mess up on a marketing strategy and segmentation project, and we had to rework it. And there was a bit of skepticism because the strategy director, well, we brought in company X that was supposed to do A, B, and C, and they haven't delivered, and look at the mess that we're dealing with. And so buyers are becoming more skeptical, given economic environments, given that chances are, as being in professional services, many of our clients have been burnt in one way or another by a professional service firm. It has really raised the skepticism and raised the expectations of what they're looking for. So there are a few competing pieces that we have to deal with, but one of the big call outs I want to call out is that self-education and research that they are doing externally. So it's not about just your website. You have to be out in the market, in the ecosystem where your buyers deem those trusted sources for information. Next slide, please. Actually, we can go back one. That would be great. One forward. Thank you. Okay, well, okay, so again, I'm Michael Haynes. We've been working with firms for, gosh, a number of years, and I'm all about empowering small and medium professional service firms. I've worked across the range. Accounting, technology, and law firms are the ones that I've been working with quite closely, and really empowering them on how they can thrive and succeed in the world of B2B, which has changed fundamentally in terms of buyers' behaviors and expectations over the past few years. Now, while there have been changes, generally across the board in B2B with respect to, the need for more, self-service, that more independent research and education, the needs and expectations for our clients, our prospects in our world has fundamentally changed. Next slide, please. Yeah, so with regards to that, as a result, what got you successful with your firm to this point may not be enough to be moving forward. More people are involved in the buying decision making, and the latest stats show that 70% of B2B buyers will fully understand their needs before they want to contact any sales representative. So they will go through. So talking in our context, if you're an accounting firm or let's say you're an IT strategy firm, the buyers, and they will have their influencers who are providing input to the decisions. They will do a lot of in-depth research through the industry and professional associations, through a lot of their masterminds and their peer groups. And they will do a lot of research. It's quite common for our world that the senior level execs will say, give me the 3 finalists in terms of IT strategy firm. You go, you vet them all. Here's the brief, vet them all. Give me the top 3, and then we will then proactively, once we've done our due diligence, go out and meet with those 3. So there is a lot of that that is quite common in our world. So hence, trying to do the pitch, do the show up and throw up doesn't work in our world of professional services, because there is that in-depth, independent research, self-education, often wanting to do that mystery shop, and then coming down with their smaller solution set from which they will select. How long that will take will depend on the complexity of the solution. Is this a new buy? So is this something we're doing for the very first time? So if it's an accounting firm and you're helping an organization with a big merger and acquisition, moving into a new market, something that's new, there will be a longer sales cycle with more decision makers. Similarly, if it's an IT project, or if you're a law firm and you're working on a new transaction that's very complex, such as my client in Canada that deals with complex immigration cases for large corporates. If it's a new buy and it's complex, then more people will be involved, as opposed if it's something that they've done before. So very high expectations, hence we're doing a lot of independent research and education. And if we go to the next slide, please. And so as a result of that, they're going through a number of different sources of how our buyers buy. So as I've mentioned, so they may go through their peers and colleagues, which is a big one. It's really become now, folks, all about the who. The question our clients, our prospects are asking is not immediately how to develop the IT strategy. How do we go about doing the tax structuring to take our IT firm into the United States. They are now asking whom can help us develop the structure for that transaction as we're going to take our IT firm into the United States and we want to go into states X, Y, and Z. Who can help us develop the IT strategy and transformation to enable us, our company, to go into new industry verticals? So it's very much asking about the who. So yes, they're going to be looking at content, but where they're going to be going, they are going to be looking at who can help them. So industries, their professional associations are a big one. Business groups, and us as professional service providers, from my research that I've been conducting, talking to clients, from the research that is there as well, our clients are members of many kinds of mastermind groups, the Visages, CEOs, EPO groups. A lot of these groups are part of where they go to for advice and for recommendations on how to take their businesses forward. So we need to be tapped in and aware of our industry associations, which is a great repository and first stop to know where to really know how to navigate and to really understand what's going on with our clients. And that's where they're going to get advice and recommendations. But your peer and colleague groups, online communities is becoming a big thing. And many of our buyers are members of multiple groups. And they're also going to trusted sources, our influencers, our experts, which could be the likes of, those that are conducting events, those that are running the podcast, your industry publications, your industry experts and analysts that are often being called on to give commentary. So these are some of the sources that our buyers are using, and they are using multiple ones in order to gain some of those questions, gain answers, to some of those questions around their key priorities. So we must recognize that there is that self-education and research, but it's being very much driven around the who. So we have to be making sure that we're making ourselves visible to where and with whom our clients and our prospects are going for that trusted advice and information. Next slide, please.
Yeah, and as you change to that next slide, I would just say we just came off of a week last week where we were at AICP Engage, which for accounting firms, that's like one of the biggest events of the year, where it's kind of everybody, all the different firms are there, all the different vendors are there, the thought leaders are there, the media is there. And so it's events like that that exist in each kind of professional service firm area that I think are, really key to making sure, like, knowing and understanding, like, the dynamics within that specific industry. So no, great thoughts there.
And sure, that's great. And just to add on to that, again, if you're unclear as to where to start, the industry and professional associations of those current, of your current industry, of current clients you're currently serving, and or those you seek to serve, it's a great starting point. Because you go to the website of that industry and professional association, it is a repository, because there you can get the white papers, the case studies, the research that will tell you about what are the trends, what are the developments, where are the events that are going on, which may be online, which may be in person, that you can go to start meeting some of your peers, meeting some of those trusted influencers that are sources that our clients and prospects are going to. It can be a great way to learn about your competition. So when in doubt, your industry and professional association is a great starting point where you can get access to lots of advice, insights, learning about your clients, learning about trends. It's an opportunity for you to be showcased as well, to showcase your accounting firm, your law firm, your IT firm about the capabilities and add value to your clients and prospects. So that is really the starting point. I really do advise my clients that really they should be a member of the industry and professional association of their core industries, because you have to be immersed in the market, and this is where you can get the ability to gain lots of insights, to build your strategy, to build the right solutions, as well as to be able to market and promote and use that as a channel as part of your go-to-market.
Absolutely.
Next slide. Now, folks, if you do not remember anything from this masterclass, the number one thing that you must recognize is that our professional service buyer, the clients in our world, the number one thing that they're looking for is expertise. Now, this is not coming from myself, well, it's coming from me, but this is backed by research that is done by the likes of Forrester, Gartner, the Hinge Research Institute, which specializes in our world of professional services. And this has been a shift that has been happening over the past couple of years. And the number one thing they're looking for is depth of expertise. They want to have that, leaders want that confidence and trust that the professional service firms are dealing with, be it an accounting firm, be it a law firm, consulting firm, that you have that depth of understanding around their businesses, their challenges, their priorities, and you're going to help them to meet their priorities and objectives. Therefore, the number one thing that needs to underpin everything you do, which underpins your go-to-market, and I'm going to emphasize go-to-market, not marketing plan, is you must deliver what I call AIR. AIR stands for advice, insights, and recommendations. That needs to be the basis, that needs to be the foundation of everything that you do within your firm, full stop. It should be the foundation and be the ongoing principle, the Bible, for lack of a better word, of how you do your go-to-market. So what do I mean by advice, insights, and recommendations? This is all about, what we would typically say as working professional service firms, adding value. So advice, so providing advice on, new challenges and problems that are coming up for your clients and prospects, giving them advice how to address them, helping them to identify what are new opportunities that they should be pursuing, helping them to assess the different kinds of methodologies and approaches that they could possibly take to build and grow their business. And that's becoming a challenge more and more. I mean, Sherry, you and I were just talking about what are some of the different tools we can be leveraging in AI to help our firms, our organizations run more better. So providing advice in those areas is highly valuable, highly sought after, and this is what our decision makers, our buyers, and those influencers within our world of professional services are looking for. They're looking for insights. So they want to know what are the industry market trends, what are the new developments, what's happening around technology, how are our various industry verticals and geographic markets that we're currently operating in or looking to operate, how are they performing? What are some of those broad, customer insights in terms of what do our clients need? And what are some of their trends in terms of their expectations, priorities? Making sure we have understanding around that. Providing recommendations. So what are some of the recommendations around, what are the kinds of solutions that we potentially should be undertaking? What sort of strategies should we be undertaking? With whom should we be collaborating with? Collaborations is a big, important component of what we need to be doing. So providing advice, insights, recommendations is the number one thing that we need to be focusing on, because our buyers, our clients, and our prospects in our world of professional services is seeking expertise. And so we deliver that advice, insights, and recommendations. That is what's going to build you the trust, the confidence with those decision makers, with those clients and prospects, so that you're going to be able to start engaging with them and hopefully acquire them as clients and also retain and grow them as well. Now you may be thinking and asking, okay, Michael, that's all great. How do we go about doing so? Well, this is where we're now going to move into the how of how we're going to be doing so. And that is through your go-to-market strategy, which we'll start to talk about now. So the key to how you're going to, build and grow your firm, acquire new clients, as well as retain and grow those current clients that you currently have, is by having an effective go-to-market strategy. So what is a go-to-market strategy? So the go-to-market strategy is your overarching plan, which talks about how you're going to bring your services and solutions to market. It's that holistic plan that's about how you're going to both acquire your clients as well as retain and grow those clients, and hopefully, grow revenues and expand your business. Now, your go-to-market plan is not your marketing plan, because this is an overarching plan. It is a cross-functional plan, and it brings together all the elements of your business. It brings together your firm's offerings, marketing, sales, service and support, and distribution. Marketing, sales, and service and support are three of your core functions as part of your go-to-market, but your marketing plan, which sits within your overall go-to-market strategy, is not your go-to-market strategy. It is a sub-component. I'm very pedantic, and all my clients will tell you, I will always bang on, it is our go-to-market strategy. And it's really, go-to-market is a process, because it is iterative, it is ongoing. But it is the plan that covers all elements of our business: acquisition, cross-sell, upsell, and expansion. Now, I want to come back for a moment to firm's offering. Now, your firm's offering is a key component of your go-to-market. It's a key component for us in professional services, and particularly for those of you that are in the likes of accounting and technology consulting services. Your advisory offerings is a big point of differentiation and a big potential form of competitive advantage. In accounting specifically, a lot of the firms now, how they're trying to become relevant, how they're trying to become compelling and moving forward, is by coming up with new offerings. So moving beyond just those transactional kinds of functions and going into more broader areas, like providing virtual CFO services, business coaching, providing strategy workshops, strategy and implementation. Often combining that with other kinds of executive level engagement, such as creating communities, platinum councils. And so many firms that are really getting on the pulse now recognize there's an opportunity to provide, much more comprehensive solutions. You could almost call them bundles in a way. And so it can be a great opportunity for you to by really understanding your buyers, your clients and your buyers, and I'll get to that in a moment, you can develop some very compelling offerings and bundles that might consist of, for example, business coaching, strategy planning, virtual financial services, plus access to some VIP mastermind communities. And we can package that as a holistic bundle. Now, QuickFee works well here, is something it can work well as an enabler to develop those kinds of bundles, because often these kinds of comprehensive bundles, comprehensive offerings, which our clients are seeking and wanting, the likes of a QuickFee solution will be an enabler for how that is going to be financed and paid for. So it is a big win-win, because often we want to be developing our bundled solutions, these more comprehensive solutions, which can be a bit of a payment challenge, particularly for small and medium clients, but when you can provide an option on how they're going to be how this can be financed and paid for, that is going to be beneficial for both you as a financial service provider and the client. It's a win-win. So I just wanted to come back that, looking at your firm's offerings, what you are offering is a key component of your go-to-market, and it's one of the first steps you need to undertake, because our clients are expecting a lot more from us, and they are very much looking for the one-stop shop of that trusted provider, be it you being the accountant, the lawyer, that IT firm, who can connect them and help them gain access to the services, depth of expertise that they're looking for. So again, your go-to-market strategy is your overarching plan. It is cross-functional. It's going to help you with acquisition, cross-sell, upsell, retention, and expansion. It's an ongoing iterative process. So it's, I tend to refer to it as this go-to-market full stop, because we're constantly going to have to be revisiting and refining based on client needs, market dynamics, internal and strategic intent of the firm. But it's cross-functional, involving your offerings, marketing, sales, service and support, and distribution. Next slide, please. So with respect to how, as a professional firm, how are we going to be able to go out and execute your go-to-market strategy? I've developed this framework, and this is a framework that has been road tested based on working with other clients, as well as tapping in with some of the leading movers, shakers, and thinkers in the go-to-market space for our world in B2B and our world in professional services. And it is a fairly simplistic but very compelling framework that we can use. And so I call it the buyer air-driven go-to-market strategy, or your buyer air-driven go-to-market framework. Now, it is called buyer-driven because in addition to, there's a couple of things that you need to remember if you remember nothing else from today's session. One is that we must be providing advice, insights, and recommendations. Needs to be the fabric, the foundation of your professional services firm. But we must remember that we must be aiming our efforts at the buyers, at the decision makers. So who makes the choice of provider, whether I'm going to go with accounting firm X versus accounting firm Y? Who makes that choice of provider? That is with whom we have to be directing our efforts. So it must be directed at the decision at that buyer level, and we need to be providing them advice, insights, and recommendations. So it is a buyer air-driven go-to-market strategy where we're focusing in on our target buyers. And there are three core pillars that constitute our go-to-market strategy: content, micro events, and partnerships or collaborations. Now, these are the three pillars because based on how our buyers buy, these are fundamental, the three pillars that we need to be having as part of our go-to-market. So going through them really quickly, content, again, and everything is about providing advice, insights, and recommendations. So content. So your content could be the likes of articles. It could be doing white papers. It could be doing things like LinkedIn live discussions. So your articles are white papers, case studies, and these are all again about providing So advice on new opportunities, challenges, providing insights on market, market trends, market development, broad client customer needs. What are some of the approaches and for strategies, partnerships? So you have the content that you're going to be creating, and again, it's not enough to just put it on your website. You need to be thinking, where are your clients and prospects going for information, and distributing that. So as you write that article on best practices for collaborations in the fintech sector, for example, you want to be making sure it's being distributed through, in addition to your email and SEO, but the relevant real estate organizations, the relevant business groups. There could be certain online communities, advisory networks that you want to be making sure that you're getting your articles, your content distributed across where your folks are looking for information, and in the formats as well. So it's not just content creation, but it's content distribution. Again, making sure it's distributed amongst those parts of the ecosystem, where your buyers are looking for information. Second pillar is events, and I call those micro events. Micro events I define as anything between 30 minutes up to 2.5 hours, where we can be bringing our buyers, our decision makers and prospects together. Because yes, our buyers, our decision makers, they are seeking advice, insights, and recommendations to their key priorities and challenges, but they also want to have an opportunity to have dialogue, to ask questions, to gain perspectives of, well, I've heard about, well, Sherry told me today about using AI tool X versus Y. What are you using? So they want to have those opportunities to have dialogue. So these can be things like executive briefings. These can be things like roundtables. They can be mini mastermind sessions. You could do live discussions. You can have panels. It can be Q&A sessions. I know someone that does office hours. Micro events can be done in person, but also I have found both myself and with my clients, online can be a very good thing. Our diaries are all completely full with meetings and presentations and so forth. What I found with many of my clients is micro events done virtually. You often will get good attendance because decision makers are quite keen to have an opportunity to hear what Sherry has to say around X, Y, and Z, and being able to ask questions and being able to do it online so that they can dial in while they are, still, listening in, asking questions, and working on that board report that's due at 5 o'clock. It allows that flexibility. They don't have to travel. So if they've got a really tight diary schedule, they can easily fit it in. But you really want to be using micro events in conjunction with content. And often putting out a content piece or a series of a few content pieces and then running an event as part of that to bring folks together has massive impact in terms of building visibility, trust, credibility, and it unlocks a conversation. It starts a dialogue with some of your clients and prospects. Again, as the research has shown, folks are not interested in the show up and throw up of you coming in, making the pitch. Those days are over. I say good luck if you can get through a good EA, because EAs are notorious and very effective. I've got two of my best friends are EAs, and good luck trying to get through to them, to get to the senior level execs to do the show up and throw up. That's just not how it works anymore. But when you can deliver value through content, providing opportunities for them to ask questions, ask experts, and navigate and work with each other, that is where opportunities to really start the conversations and the magic can really happen. The third element is partnerships, or I'm going to call that collaboration, and it's all about how you can collaborate with other, it can be with your other professional service providers, it might be with clients, with peers, and how you can collaborate with your members of the ecosystem to do content micro events. So it could be around co-creating a piece of content, which might be a white paper, or it might be co-creating and doing a live stream or conducting a panel on a specific topic. So you can co-create the content, the micro events. You can work with each other to cross-promote. Collaborations are quite effective because in addition to the co-creation and co-promotion, it allows you to gain access to your target audiences, and it's a great way to gain credibility. So these are kind of the core pillars: content, micro event, and partnerships or strategic collaborations. And these can be used for both new client acquisition, but is also very effective for retention and expansion. But again, the key you want to be remembering is that this needs to be buyer driven. So we need to be focusing on those making the decisions, those influencing the decision, and it's all about providing advice, insight, and recommendation to their key priorities, challenges, and objectives. By doing so, that's how you unlock the conversations, that's how you get access to, and will be able to start working with those clients and prospects that you seek.
And I love the fact that all of these are so actionable, right? So every single one of these, anybody that's joining, now or in the on-demand version, like any one of these are things that you can take and do action on easily today. I love the way you've broken it down.
Yes, and the thing is, it's very much it's to be actionable because for us, unlike the big end of town, we don't have time or budgets to be fluffing around. And these three pillars are aligned. The power of what this is that it's aligned to how our professional services buyers buy. These are the three pillars, the mechanisms of how they operate, because they are seeking expertise, they are seeking and it is very much about the who as well. So it's all tied in based on the environment and the buyers that we're dealing with. Next slide, please. So the key to success, it is about being buyer-driven. You must provide air, advice, insights, and recommendations. And next slide, please. You have to be immersed, living in the market. I cannot stress this enough. There's a new term by some of the leading thinkers. They call it nearbound. It's all about being immersed in the market. We have to surround our firm. We have to surround our buyers with the people, groups, and sources that they trust. So you really need to have an understanding of your market, and you really need to be interacting with and be familiar with, the industry and professional associations that are relevant. Who are the other service providers that your firms are likely to deal with? Because chances are, as professional service firms, our other colleagues in other professional service realms will be often of relevance to us that we can co-create, collaborate with, gain access to clients with. So, the likes of project managers, IT specialists, cybersecurity specialists, niche specialist consultants. So many of our other colleagues in the world of professional services are folks that we need to be aware of, working with, interacting with. Groups and communities. So, a lot of our clients and prospects, again, they're heavily involved in various kinds of communities, and often they're involved in multiple ones, various kinds of groups, your CEO, visages, your EPOs, your BNIs, all these various kinds of groups. We want to be aware of those, and again, be immersed, interacting in those, attending events where we can contribute our content and conducting micro events in conjunction with them. Publications, your peer networks, your peer network is very important. Industry analysts. So it's about, immersing not just ourselves, but also our clients as well, and giving them access to advice, insights, recommendations, introducing them to what are the relevant groups, communities, industry professional association that they should be involved with, helping to bring all of these people together and providing them with access to these is extremely powerful, highly sought after, and highly valued as well. So it's very much that you have to be really immersed. We have to live in the market, we have to know the market, and then be practicing what we preach, delivering air, leveraging those three pillars, and through the ecosystem of these kinds of groups, people, and organizations that I've been talking about.
No, absolutely. And I think that living in the market, that's where you bring value, right? So if you're not doing that, there's no way that the value can come.
And again, great point, Sherry. And again, in terms of, the days of doing the show up and throw up are over, because it is this slide 11 is living in the market. It is from these sources where your buyers, when they're asking, who can help me, plan that tax structure for the next big takeover? Who can help me plan out the IT transformation as we're going to take over a company? This slide 11, this is where folks are our buyers, our prospects are going when they are looking for professional service providers to provide advice and the services that they require. This is what they're doing as part of their research. This is where they're tapping into, not the random LinkedIn email from someone they don't know, or someone that's trying to sneak in the 10-minute meeting or 10-minute Zoom call out of nowhere. This is where they're starting from first. This is what they're going to. And so we need to be making sure that we are immersed within those industries, markets, ecosystems for the clients we currently serve, as well as those that we're seeking to serve moving forward as well. Now, the ability to gain and be effective of all this, if we go to the next slide, your success in doing all of this is that you have to be effective at what I call listening, okay? You have to have that in-depth understanding, and you need to do so on 3 levels. So there's what I call listening to you, and that's you as the firm owner, one of the firm leaders, really understanding your goals, priorities, your objectives, knowing what your strengths are, what are the key capabilities are in your firm, what are some of the areas that need to be improved on. So making sure you really have a deep understanding and clarity about your firm. Where are your wins? Where are your successes? And your successes in terms of clients, revenues, profitability. Who are the, where are you getting a lot of recognition by certain kinds of clients or certain industries as being great, fantastic. Really having an understanding of all of those things, because that will help guide as to where and how you move forward. There's listening to the market. So listening to the market is really about having that in-depth understanding what's going on in those industries, geographic markets that you're serving. So you understand the trends, the developments, who are the key players, who are the key experts, what are some of the regulatory changes that are coming on. Is there a lot of M&A activity happening? What are your competitors doing? Where are they moving? So really having an understanding of market trends, all of that. And that's again where living in the market is so critical, so important. In terms of getting started on how to listen to the market, your industry and your professional association is a great starting point, because there will be tons of research, white papers, webinars, events that you can go to. They'll have their newsletters or monthly publications. There's a repository of information there to give you great insights on a market level, and even potentially on the customer level as well, which will help you to move forward, help you to start making those connections and starting being able to get involved and start living in the market, so that you can gain exposure to clients and prospects, but also their trusted sources that they're going to as well. And then the third is listening to the customer, or listening to the client, as we are professional service folk. This is where often many firms go wrong. It is not enough to understand, there's often there is a tendency to understand at a user level. So if you're an IT consulting firm, you will often understand the needs of the business analysts and the project managers that are using your particular solutions, who are the ones that are coming with all the service queries. You have to understand at the decision maker level. So who are the decision makers? At that decision maker, at that buyer level, we need to understand three key things. Who is the decision maker and who influences the decisions? What are their priorities and objectives, and how do they buy? You must have an understanding of those core three questions, because that will really define everything that you need to do in terms of where and whom you need to be seen, on what are some of those topics and issues that you need to be providing advice, insight, and recommendations. So it's really building your understanding on these three levels. That is the starting point that will give you the clarity and depth of understanding to start building out your go-to-market, looking at your offerings that you're offering to the firm, as well as what are you going to do around those core activities around content, micro events, and the kinds of strategic collaborations you may want to undertake.
I think that's great. And I think that's a great differentiator there, of really knowing and understanding how that decision maker, what their challenges are, what they're trying to achieve, and how they buy, like you said, versus maybe the person that you may be interacting with on a day-to-day basis, the user. It's a whole different conversation than it is at the decision maker level. So great advice there.
You're quite important. And just to give a live example of why it's so important, if your firm focuses solely on the user level, at that, in terms of service levels and functionalities and features, I'll use a technology example, and you're not understanding what the decision makers are thinking about in the boardroom in terms of what are their priorities, in terms of how they want to build and grow the business taking forward, you can eventually lose out. Because if those decision makers, because remember, the decision makers, those, and particularly when you're dealing with clients of larger organizations, so your larger, small, medium businesses, your mid-markets, and your large corporates, the decision makers and the influencers who decide on what professional service firms they're using, they may have limited to no involvement with actually interacting with your accounting firm or your IT strategy firm or your law firm. And so if you are focusing only on user priorities and you are not delivering advice, insights, and recommendations at that senior level, when it comes time, because there is a new initiative, there's going to be another takeover, another big complex transaction, and they need an accounting firm and a law firm, if they are not aware of how you're able to deliver value, provide advice, insights, and support them with those goals, then they will go to another firm. And I've seen that happen with firms in a couple contexts, both of which being technology examples, where the firms have lost out to another firm which didn't have superior capability, but because they were more effective with their go-to-market and at that executive level engagement, when it came time for some new digital transformation projects to come up, they went to another firm which, in terms of their ongoing implementation service capabilities, wasn't quite up to par, but because they had that interaction and build that trust and visibility, they got that new extension contract renewal, which was quite a hefty sum. So that's just to give a live example why it's important that we must interact at that decision maker level and not just be focusing on a user level.
Good.
And really now, just to kind of wrap things up, just in terms of, just quickly go on to, really quickly, all of this that I've been going through, this is not just theory. These are things that have actually worked. On this slide are some firms that I've been working with. The Bellissimo Law Group, they're a group law firm that does complex immigration cases. They were Boutique Law Firm of the Year in 2020, 2021. LMS Advisory is a mid-sized accounting firm here in Sydney. Best Practice Group is a multi-service award-winning professional service firm. So these are just examples of some of the organizations which are thriving, growing right now as professional service firms, and how they've been able to be successful is by undertaking a go-to-market strategy that has been buyer-driven, air-driven, leveraging these principles. And then the last thing I just want to say in terms of just a couple of quick tips in terms of listening. In terms of listening and how to get started, start with your current clients. Start with the current clients. When's the last time you've had a discussion, a meeting with the decision makers of your key clients to understand their priorities, challenges, objectives, where they're looking to go. If you haven't had that in the last 3 to 6 months, it's a great opportunity. We're coming up mid-year now, and to start to have those discussions. Start having those discussions with a cross-section of your clients, across some of your key clients, the key verticals you operate, and a mix of clients, those that really love you, as well as some of those clients that are quite difficult and quite painful to deal with, and including some of those clients that might be, only spending a small amount, but you see lots of potential. So starting to have meetings with the decision makers to understand their priorities, objectives, challenges, starting to have those discussions, documenting them, sharing those with your team, that is a great way to get started in this process by doing some listening at that client, at that buyer level. Well, Sherry, I think that's it. I'll kind of conclude for now. Any comments you have, or any questions or comments from any of our attendees who are dialing in live?
Yeah, I was gonna say, if anybody does have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, and we will take those. But I do think it's really good. A lot of times I think in the kind of professional service firms, we know and understand what we offer as expertise at kind of a very deep, maybe singular level, but kind of looking at how do we grow that business, and maybe that business acumen, that kind of go-to-market process and things like that is not necessarily maybe where we specialize, right? So I think some of this kind of very practical, actionable kind of advice that you've given today will hopefully help people kind of just reframe what they think of when they think of, yeah, I definitely do want to grow my firm, and I definitely am interested in this niche area here. We seem to have had some wins here. Like, how can I continue kind of that growth strategy? I think by looking at that a little bit differently on how they're targeting that and the different ways that they're going about that, I just love that it's very kind of practical, actionable. Any size firm can kind of take this and apply that. And obviously growth doesn't just happen. It's that you can't just wish it, right? Hope is not a strategy, right? And so like actually putting a strategy in place like this, with some just very fundamental kind of basics that you can apply, I think is great. So thank you so very much for the practical advice and some of the good examples that you've given. And again, it was great to spend some time with you today and talking through that. And we'll definitely be sharing this, like I said, through our on-demand version as well, since we had a lot of firms that had indicated interest but may not have been able to join us live today. And then if there's any questions, you guys can feel free to send those in as well. You can even send them in after the fact, and we'll get those to Michael too. But thank you so much for getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning in Sydney to join us, and hope that this was enjoyable for you as well today.
It was very much enjoyable. So thank you, Sherry. Just one last quick thing. I just want to say to those listening, please reach out to me. You'll see on, maybe share put on the last slide how they can connect with me on LinkedIn. So they can reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn. I also have a free playbook as well. If you go to the last slide, Sherry, yeah, so connect with me on LinkedIn. There is a free playbook that you can download from the slide link indicated there, which gives you a full explanation of, what is your go-to-market roadmap, and it provides you, with the actual steps your firm can undertake to start understanding your clients, as well as start building out some of those key pillars for your go-to-market. Thank you again, Sherry, for organizing this. It was lots of fun, and I truly enjoyed it.
Yes, thank you so much. And we will include these links as well when we send out the follow-up email for folks who have registered and when we send out the recording. So we'll include those too. And thank you again, and have a great rest of your day.